The United Earth orbital station floated above the blue curve of Earth like a silent guardian. Its silver hull caught the light of the rising sun, and tiny glimmers of spacecraft came and went, like ants returning to a nest. Lieutenant Aaron Hale stood in Docking Bay 12, waiting for the most unusual diplomatic arrival of his career. Aaron was tall, with short brown hair and a face that could look confident or uncertain depending on the day. Right now, it was definitely the uncertain kind. He adjusted his uniform collar for the fourth time in 5 minutes, trying to look calm. "Relax, Lieutenant," said Commander Rowe, his superior officer, standing next to him with her hands clasped behind her back. "You're here to represent Earth, not to audition for a parade." "I know," Aaron said. "It's just, I've never met an Irathi before." Rowe gave him a sidelong glance. "Then remember the one rule. Keep your mind clean." Aaron frowned. "Right. About that? You mean they can actually—" "Yes," Rowe interrupted. "They can read your thoughts if you don't shield them. And you, Lieutenant, haven't exactly had the highest marks in mental shielding practice." Aaron tried not to sigh. Shielding was a technique humans had developed to avoid accidental mind-read intrusions from telepathic species. It wasn't easy. It required constant focus, like holding a thoughtless blank page in your head. For some people, it came naturally. For Aaron, it was like trying not to think of a pink elephant. Before he could reply, the docking doors began to hum. Warning lights flashed as the incoming vessel approached. Through the transparent wall, Aaron saw the Veyara, the Irathi diplomatic cruiser, glide into view. Its design was unlike any human ship. It looked grown rather than built, with flowing curves and surfaces that shimmered faintly in shades of blue and silver. The bay filled with the deep echo of docking clamps locking in place. A ramp extended from the ship's underside, smooth and seamless. Then the airlock opened. She stepped out. Lyra, envoy of the Irathi, was unlike anything Aaron had expected. He had imagined someone cold, unreadable, maybe even intimidating. Instead, she moved with a gentle grace, her long white hair falling over one shoulder, her skin faintly luminous in the station lights. Her eyes, large and crystalline, caught the light like liquid silver. She wore a flowing outfit that seemed to shift in texture as she walked, blending shades of soft green and silver blue. Aaron's mind, despite all warnings, immediately filled with thoughts he knew he shouldn't have. She's beautiful, like she stepped out of a dream. And of course I'm standing here like an idiot staring at her. Lyra stopped in front of him. Her expression was calm, but her eyes looked directly into his. It was not just looking. It was like someone had opened a door inside his mind and stepped in. Aaron froze. Oh no, she can hear me. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. Not a mocking smile, not annoyed, just warm. "Lieutenant Aaron Hale?" she asked, her voice soft, musical, and carrying an accent that was hard to place. Yes, that's me," he stammered, then mentally screamed at himself for sounding nervous. "It is a pleasure to meet you," Lyra said, inclining her head slightly. "I look forward to our work together." Aaron felt his thoughts slipping again. She's not mad. Why isn't she mad? Did she just smile because of what I was thinking? Her smile deepened almost imperceptibly, as though answering his unspoken question. Rowe cleared her throat. "Envoy Lyra, welcome to the United Earth Orbital Station. Lieutenant Hale will serve as your liaison during your stay." "I am grateful," Lyra replied politely. "Your station is alive with thoughts." She said it as though she could hear every single one of them, like background music. As they left the docking bay, Aaron fell into step beside her. He tried focusing on neutral subjects: the architecture of the station, the recent repairs in Section 5, the smell of fresh metal from the maintenance teams. But his mind kept wandering. They passed a window with a view of Earth below. Lyra paused, her gaze fixed on the swirling blues and whites. "It is beautiful," she murmured. "It is," Aaron agreed, relaxing a little. "You love it," she said simply. Aaron blinked. "What?" "Your thoughts carry it clearly. You love your home world." He hesitated. "You can feel that?" "Yes," she said. "Your mind is not shielded." He winced. "Sorry, I've never been great at—" "You do not need to apologize," Lyra said. "It is refreshing." That caught him off guard. Refreshing. Most people I've met from telepathic species find unshielded minds rude. "Many do," she agreed, tilting her head. "But your thoughts are honest. Not all minds are." Her words lingered in his head long after they resumed walking. Later that day, Aaron was assigned to give Lyra a tour of the station. The corridors hummed with quiet activity, engineers, medics, traders, and officers moving about on their tasks. At first, Aaron worried she'd find it boring. But she took in every detail, occasionally asking a question in that soft voice of hers. "What is the purpose of those?" she asked, pointing to a row of maintenance drones hovering near the ceiling. "They patch microfractures in the hull," Aaron explained. "They work faster than human crews for small-scale repairs." She nodded thoughtfully. "You trust machines greatly." "Some things they do better than us," he admitted. "But we still keep people in the loop." Lyra's gaze flicked toward him, and Aaron realized she was answering thoughts he hadn't spoken. "She's doing it again," he thought. Her lips curved. "Yes," she said softly, as if to confirm it. When the tour ended, they arrived at the quarters, prepared for her. The door slid open, revealing a spacious room with a large viewport facing the stars. The walls had been adjusted to her species' preferred atmospheric settings, and a small collection of Erathi furnishings had been arranged. "It is comfortable," Lyra said, stepping inside. She touched one of the furniture pieces. It shimmered under her fingers, adjusting shape to better fit her posture. Aaron hesitated at the door. "If you need anything, I'll be nearby." "I know," she said, her eyes holding his a moment. Longer than necessary. He wasn't sure why his chest felt warm. That night, Aaron couldn't stop thinking about the encounter. He had expected the meeting to be stiff, maybe even hostile if his thoughts slipped. Instead, she had smiled. Not once. Had she seemed offended? It made him wonder, and not for the last time, if perhaps humans had misunderstood the Erathi. The next morning, the United Earth orbital station bustled with activity, the steady hum of engines mixed with the murmur of voices over the comm channels. In the command center, Aaron Hale walked in with a tablet under his arm, expecting a normal day of escort duties for Envoy Lyra. It wasn't going to be a normal day. Commander Rowe was already standing near the central holo display, her expression sharp. Floating above the table was a glowing projection of a cargo vessel, the Crescent Dawn. A blinking red path showed its drifting course toward empty space. Rowe noticed Aaron and waved him over. "Lieutenant, we have a problem. This cargo ship left Mars colony yesterday bound for Vega Outpost. It's carrying medical supplies for the frontier worlds. Navigation systems failed during transit." Aaron frowned. "No distress call?" "None," Rowe said. "The automated system kept it moving, but it's drifting into an asteroid cluster. In a few hours, the hull could be torn apart." Before Aaron could respond, another voice joined the conversation. "I will go," Lyra said. She stepped into the room, her presence drawing more than a few curious glances from the human officers. She looked calm as always, her silver eyes scanning the holo display. Rowe hesitated. "Envoy Lyra, this could be dangerous. It's not a diplomatic matter." "Lives depend on the supplies," Lyra replied simply. "If my presence can help, I will go." Aaron glanced at Rowe. "If she's volunteering, I can pilot the shuttle. 2 people can get there faster than sending a larger crew." Rowe gave them both a long look before nodding. Fine, you have clearance. Hale, you're in charge of the shuttle. Keep the envoy safe. The shuttle departure. An hour later, Aaron and Lyra stood in the launch bay. Their shuttle, the Arrowhead, gleamed under the overhead lights, a small, fast craft built for quick missions. The hull bore light scarring from past encounters with space debris, but Aaron trusted it with his life. As they climbed aboard, Lyra paused at the entrance, her gaze sweeping over the interior. Your vessels feel enclosed, she remarked. They're safer that way, Aaron said with a grin. Open space is pretty to look at, but you don't want it in here. Her lips curved faintly at his unspoken thought, especially not when you're responsible for someone else's safety. She strapped herself into the co-pilot's seat without a word. But Aaron noticed she seemed comfortable with the controls around her, as if she understood their function. When the launch sequence began, the shuttle's engines rumbled beneath them. The hangar doors opened, revealing the blackness of space and the bright curve of Earth far below. Aaron guided the shuttle out smoothly, accelerating into open space. The station fell away behind them, thoughts in the quiet. For a while, they traveled in silence, the hum of the engines the only sound. Aaron focused on the navigation readouts, but his mind kept drifting toward the envoy sitting beside him. She's not nervous. If I were her, sitting in a strange species shuttle heading into a dangerous mission, I'd be on edge. You think too much, Lyra said softly, still watching the stars ahead. Aaron glanced at her. I guess you already know what's on my mind. Your thoughts are loud, she said, and curious. Loud, he repeated, raising an eyebrow. She tilted her head as if searching for the right words. Not in volume, in clarity. You think in direct pictures and feelings. Many minds blur their truths before they even think them. Aaron wasn't sure what to say to that, so he focused on the view ahead. A scattering of distant asteroids glimmered faintly and reflected. Starlight. Trouble in transit. Halfway through their route, the shuttle's warning lights flashed yellow. Aaron checked the console. Solar flare detected, he muttered. We'll have to adjust course. The shuttle rocked slightly as the flare's radiation pulse passed through space. Shields absorbed most of it, but Aaron could feel the faint vibration in his seat. The flare has disturbed the asteroid field's pattern, Lyra said suddenly. Aaron looked at her. How do you know that? I heard it, she said simply. You heard space rocks? He asked, half smiling. Her eyes glimmered. I heard the minds of small monitoring drones stationed nearby. Their readings worried them. Aaron blinked. You can read machines? No, she said, shaking her head. But machines speak to the minds of those who watch them, and I hear the thoughts of those minds. Before Aaron could decide if that was impressive or unnerving, the navigation computer beeped. The asteroid field ahead had shifted, narrowing their safe path. All right, he muttered, hands tightening on the controls. Time to thread the needle. Navigating the drift, the Arrowhead darted into the asteroid field. Massive rocks tumbled lazily through space, their surfaces jagged and shadowed. Aaron steered sharply, weaving between them. In his mind, a rapid list of calculations, risks, and escape paths formed. He didn't speak them aloud, but Lyra did. Left, then down 3 degrees, she said calmly. The smaller rock ahead will pass above us in 5 seconds. Aaron glanced at her, then followed the suggestion. Sure enough, the asteroid drifted safely over the shuttle. You're reading my thoughts, aren't you? Yes, she said. It helps us move faster. Guess I can't argue with results, Aaron admitted, turning hard to avoid another spinning fragment. For several tense minutes, they worked as one. Aaron piloting with instinct, Lyra anticipating dangers from his mind before his hands even moved. It was almost like having a second pilot who already knew his plan. Finally, the asteroids thinned and the blackness of open space spread before them again. The silent ship. "There," Aaron said, pointing at the distant shape on the scanner. The crescent dawn floated in space, its hull lights dim, engines silent. As they approached, Aaron could see scorch marks along one side, likely from micrometeorite impacts. The ship's communications array was dark. "No distress signal," Aaron muttered. "Something's cut off power to the whole system." They docked with the cargo ship's side hatch. The magnetic clamps locked with a metallic thud, and the shuttle's systems confirmed an airtight seal. Boarding the vessel. The air inside the Crescent Dawn was stale but breathable. Emergency lights cast a faint red glow along the corridor. Aaron led the way with a handheld scanner, checking for structural damage. Lyra followed quietly, her gaze sharp. "There is fear here," she murmured. Aaron stopped. "Fear? There's no crew." "Not now," she said. But there was. Their thoughts still echo. He tried not to shiver. Anything useful in those echoes? They left quickly. "But they were alive when they left," Lyra replied. "That was something at least. The core problem. They reached the engine control room, where the ship's main systems lay in standby mode. Aaron knelt beside the console, examining the damage. "Power. Relays fried," he said. "I can bypass it, but it'll take time." "I will watch for trouble," Lyra said, moving to the doorway. As Aaron worked, his thoughts ran through possible causes. Micrometeorite strike, electrical overload, sabotage. Lyra's voice interrupted. "Not sabotage. It was a strike. I saw it." In the memory of the crew's thoughts. Aaron didn't question it. Her accuracy so far had been too precise to doubt. After 20 minutes of work, the hum of the ship's systems returned. Lights flickered on, and the navigation readouts began scrolling again. Homeward bound, with the Crescent Dawn's autopilot restored, Aaron set its course toward the nearest colony. The supplies would arrive without delay now. Back aboard the Arrowhead, they undocked and began the trip home. The asteroid field was quieter this time, and the journey felt easier. "You saved time back there," Aaron said finally. "If it weren't for you, I might have lost hours figuring out the safest course." "I only heard what you already knew," Lyra said. "You saved the ship." Aaron smiled faintly. "Guess we both did." The journey back to the United Earth Orbital Station should have been quiet. After all, the Crescent Dawn was back on its way to the frontier colony, and the asteroid field was behind them. But space rarely kept its promises. Aaron sat in the pilot's seat of the Arrowhead, watching the stars drift past as the shuttle cruised steadily toward home. Beside him, Lyra gazed out at the darkness, her silver eyes reflecting the light of distant suns. For a while, the only sound was the steady hum of the engines. Aaron found it strangely calming. Maybe this is what normal missions feel like after. The hard part's over, he thought. Lyra's lips curved faintly. "You are already planning your next mission in your mind," she said. Aaron smirked. "You make it sound like a bad habit." "It is not bad," she replied. "It is human." He glanced at her, but before he could answer, the navigation console gave a sharp beep. The display changed, lines of red data flashing across the screen. Aaron leaned forward. "That's not good." "What is it?" Lyra asked, her voice calm but curious. "Solar storm," Aaron said grimly. "A big one. The flare we passed earlier must have been the start. This is the main wave, and it's headed straight for us. The first impact." The shuttle shuddered as the first burst of radiation hit their shields. The lights flickered for a second before stabilizing. Aaron quickly checked the systems. "Shields are holding, for now. But the storm's going to get worse before it gets better." "How long until it passes?" Lyra asked. "Could be hours," Aaron said. And if the storm overloads our systems, it will not, she said firmly, almost as if willing it to be true. Aaron wanted to believe her, but the next jolt made it clear the storm wasn't slowing down. The shuttle rocked again, and the navigation display glitched briefly. Finding shelter. We can't ride this out in the open, Aaron muttered. We need to find cover. In space? Lyra tilted her head. A large enough asteroid, a derelict, ship. Anything solid between us and the radiation will cut down the damage, Aaron explained. He scanned the nearby sectors and found a reading, a small moon fragment drifting not far off course. It was big enough to act as a shield if they stayed on the far side. Hang on, he said, pushing the shuttle toward it. The arrowhead dove through the blackness, the fragment growing larger on the view screen. It was a jagged hunk of rock, its surface cratered from ancient impacts. Aaron guided the shuttle behind it just as another wave of the storm hit. The shields flickered, but the readings showed a drop in direct exposure. Trouble doesn't stop. They had shelter from the radiation, but the storm had another weapon. Electromagnetic interference. The shuttle's comm system crackled, then went silent. The navigation computer flickered again, freezing for several seconds before rebooting. Aaron swore under his breath. We're blind until this clears. Then we wait, Lyra said simply. Aaron leaned back in his seat, but his mind refused to rest. We're sitting ducks if anything else goes wrong. No comms, no nav, and if the storm lasts too long, the power cells will drain faster from the shield strain. You imagine every possible danger, Lyra said, glancing at him. Comes with the job, Aaron replied. Or with being human, she asked softly. Both, he admitted. A connection in the dark. For nearly an hour, they sat in the shuttle's dim glow, the storm raging silently outside. Aaron kept an eye on the systems, but his thoughts kept drifting. And Lyra, as always, seemed to hear them all. You do not trust yourself as much as you should, she said at one point. Aaron raised an eyebrow. That's an interesting observation. It is true, Lyra said calmly. You think of what you might fail at before you think of what you will succeed in. That's not completely wrong, Aaron admitted, but it's how I prepare. If I expect problems, I can deal with them. She regarded him for a long moment, her silver eyes reflecting the dim light. Perhaps. But it is not the only way to prepare. The storm's turning point. The storm's intensity grew again, and this time the shields groaned under the pressure. Warning lights flashed across the control panel. Aaron's hands flew over the controls, diverting auxiliary power to the shields. Come on, hold together. Lyra placed her hand lightly on his arm. You are thinking of too many things at once. Focus on the one that matters. He took a deep breath, shutting out every thought except the immediate task, balancing power output against the shield load. The readings steadied, and the warning lights faded. Aaron exhaled slowly. Okay, that worked. Lyra smiled faintly. I only reminded you of what you already knew, an unlikely guide. When the storm began to weaken, Aaron considered moving again. But the nav computer was still unstable. Without reliable readings, leaving cover too soon could put them right back into danger. I can guide us, Lyra said suddenly. Aaron blinked. Through a storm? Without instruments? She nodded. I can feel the minds of the small automated probes scattered in this sector. Some still function. They know safe paths. He hesitated. You're saying you can borrow their data? From the people monitoring them? Not borrow. Listen, she said. The humans who operate them are far away, but their thoughts pass through the probes like whispers. I can hear enough. It was a strange idea, but Aaron had already seen her read the movements of asteroids earlier. He decided to trust her, breaking from cover. All right, Aaron said. You tell me where to go, I'll fly. Lyra closed her eyes, her breathing slow and even. Left, 20 degrees. Now forward, steady. Aaron followed her instructions. The shuttle slipped out from behind the moon fragment and into the open again. The shield still shimmered faintly from the storm's residue, but the worst had passed. Every few minutes, Lyra gave him another adjustment. Up a few degrees, bank right, slow down, each time keeping them in a safe pocket of calmer space. Back. On course after nearly 2 hours of careful navigation, the stars cleared ahead of them, and the readings confirmed the storm was now far behind. The nav computer flickered back to life, matching exactly the route Lyra had taken them through. Aaron shook his head in amazement. That was impressive. I listened, Lyra said simply. Not just to machines, Aaron said. To me, too. I didn't even have to speak. She gave him a look that was almost teasing. You speak even when you are silent, Lieutenant. Aaron chuckled, but deep down he felt a growing sense of partnership between them. This wasn't just an escort mission anymore. They were a team. The station in sight, when the familiar shape of the United Earth Orbital Station finally came into view, Aaron felt a wave of relief. They had made it through an asteroid field, rescued a drifting cargo vessel, and now survived one of the worst solar storms in recent memory. All in 2 days. As the shuttle approached docking, Aaron glanced at Lyra. You know, most people would have panicked out there in the storm. I have seen worse, she said quietly. Fear is a choice. I chose to listen instead. Aaron thought about that for a long moment before guiding the Arrowhead smoothly into the station's docking bay. The docking clamps of the Arrowhead locked with a heavy metallic thud, and the low hiss of the airlock depressurizing signaled their return to the United Earth Orbital Station. Aaron powered down the shuttle's systems, the hum of the engines fading into silence. Beside him, Lyra unbuckled her seat restraints. She moved with the same calm grace she had shown through the asteroid field and the solar storm, as if neither had left any weight on her mind. You've got a steady head? Envoy, Aaron said as they stood. You think so? She replied, her tone as unreadable as her silver eyes. Then, after a pause, she added, You doubt yourself too much. Aaron blinked at her. We just got through a storm that could have fried us, and you're talking about my self-confidence? Her lips curved faintly. The storm was not as dangerous as the way you think about yourself. Aaron had no answer for that. He just gave a small shake of his head and led the way through the airlock, back on the station. The docking bay was busy as always, engineers in yellow suits checking, incoming ships, officers giving quick status reports over their comms. Commander Rowe was there, waiting for them. Hail, Envoy, she said, her eyes scanning them both for signs of injury. I heard you ran into trouble. That's one way to put it, Aaron replied. We found the Crescent Dawn, restored, its navigation, and survived a solar storm on the way back. Rowe's eyebrows lifted. I want the full report. Then she turned to Lyra. And you, Envoy, I hope this hasn't discouraged you from working with our crews. On the contrary, Lyra said, her voice smooth. It has shown me that humans work best when danger forces them to trust each other. Rowe gave a short nod. Good. You'll both have a day to rest before the next scheduled event. A day of quiet. The next day, Aaron found himself wandering the quieter sectors of the station. The storm had left him restless, his thoughts circling in his mind like small persistent satellites. He kept thinking about what Lyra had said, that the way he thought about himself was more dangerous than the storm. Eventually, without meaning, his steps took him toward the guest quarters assigned to the Arathi delegation. He hesitated at her door before pressing the chime. It slid open almost instantly. Lyra stood there, her white hair falling loosely over her shoulders, no formal robes today, just a simple flowing garment in pale blue that shifted softly with her movements. "Lieutenant Hale," she said. "You were thinking of me." Aaron gave a short laugh. "You make it sound like I had a choice." She tilted her head slightly, studying him. "Come in." A conversation without words. Her quarters were dim, lit mainly by the glow of the stars through the large viewport. The furnishings seemed almost alive, shifting subtly to suit the shapes of the room. Aaron sat on one of the seats, which molded itself into a shape that supported him perfectly. "You seem unsettled," Lyra said, settling across from him. "Maybe," Aaron admitted. "It's just, during the storm and even before that, you were never rattled. You just listened. And it worked. I can't figure out how you do that." "You think it is a skill only of my people," she said. "But it is not. You could learn it." Aaron raised an eyebrow. "Me? I can't even keep my thoughts to myself." "Exactly," she said, smiling faintly. "You do not hide your mind. That is why you could learn." Her words lingered in the air. He didn't know what to say, so he stayed quiet. And in the silence, she spoke again, but not aloud. Her voice, clear as if she were beside his ear, sounded in his mind. "You are thinking that this is impossible. You are wrong." Aaron sat straighter, eyes widening. "You just—" "Yes," she said aloud now. "You can hear me without my speaking. That's different from reading my thoughts," Aaron said slowly. "It is," she agreed. "This is sharing. Shared memories." Before he could ask more, his mind was suddenly filled with an image that was not his own. A green-blue world under twin suns, towering crystal spires that hummed with soundless energy, vast oceans dotted with floating gardens. "This is my home," Lyra's voice said in his head. "I have not seen it in many cycles." The image faded, and Aaron found himself staring at her. "You just put that in my head, like a memory." "Yes," she said simply. Aaron leaned back. "So, you've seen my thoughts without asking. Now you're showing me yours without me asking. That seems fair." Her smile was small, but it reached her eyes. "You joke, but it is trust. I do not share my thoughts with many." The question. He didn't mean to ask as. The quiet settled again. Aaron found his thoughts drifting toward something he hadn't meant to think about. What would happen when she left? The mission was temporary. She was here as a diplomatic envoy, not a permanent station resident. "You wonder if we will meet again after I leave," Lyra said softly. Aaron sighed. "You really don't leave much room for mystery, do you?" "I could," she said, "but I choose not to with you." "Why?" She looked at him for a long moment. "Because you do not fear being known. You only fear what I might think of you when I know." Aaron frowned. "And? What do you think?" Instead of answering aloud, she reached across the small space between them and placed her fingertips lightly against his temple. His thoughts scattered for a moment, and then he felt it. Not just hearing her voice, but feeling her presence like a steady, calm warmth. "I think," her voice whispered in his mind, "that you are worth knowing." Interrupted. Before Aaron could respond, the chime at her door sounded again. Lyra withdrew her hand and the warmth faded, though the quiet between them remained comfortable. One of the station's officers stepped in. "Lieutenant Envoy, Commander Rowe requests your presence in the control center. Priority matter." Aaron stood, his mind still buzzing from the unspoken exchange. Lyra rose too, her expression returning to its composed, envoy-like calm. Walking in silence, they made their way through the station's corridors without speaking. Aaron didn't need to. She was there in the corner of his thoughts, not intruding, just present. And he realized something. For the first time since he'd met her, he wasn't trying to shield his mind. When they reached the control center, Rowe was waiting beside the main holo display. The projection showed a deep space relay station far beyond Earth's territory, or rather what was left of it. Half the structure floated in pieces, and debris fields stretched for kilometers. "We just received this from a patrol ship," Rowe said. "The relay was destroyed less than 12 hours ago. No survivors." Aaron frowned. "Cause?" "Unknown," Rowe said. "But the patrol captain swears they saw a shadow, something large, jump to faster than light speed, as they arrived." Lyra stepped closer to the display. "This is near the border of my people's space." Rowe nodded. "Exactly. Which means this just became a joint investigation. Hale, you're going with the envoy." Aaron glanced at Lyra. She met his eyes, and he felt, not heard or thought, this will not be a simple mission. The Arrowhead left the station quietly, its engines humming through the silence of space. Aaron sat in the pilot's chair, his eyes on the star field ahead, while Lyra stood beside him, watching the navigation display. Their mission was clear: investigate the destroyed relay station and find out who, or what, had done it. But Aaron could feel that the unspoken part of the mission was even more important: keep the fragile peace between their peoples. 2 days until we reach the site," Aaron said, glancing at the readouts. "Plenty of time for bad coffee and worse conversation." Lyra's lips curved faintly. "Or for learning more about each other?" Aaron raised an eyebrow. "You don't already know everything about me?" "I know what you let yourself think in my presence," she said. "But I would like to know what you choose to share. The journey." The first day passed in a strange kind of peace. They talked about her homeworld with its twin suns, about the oceans of floating gardens, about how her people built songs into their architecture so that the wind always carried music. Aaron told her about his childhood in a coastal city, how he used to watch cargo ships come and go, and how he'd dreamed of seeing the stars since he was old enough to climb onto the roof of his home. Between stories they worked, checking sensor calibrations, running diagnostic scans, plotting their approach to the relay wreck. And every now and then, Aaron would feel her presence in the corner of his thoughts, not intruding, just there. It was oddly comforting. Signs in the dark on, the second day they picked up faint energy readings ahead. Aaron leaned forward, adjusting the scanner range. "That's not debris. That's a trail. Something big passed through here." Lyra studied the display. "The readings match no ship I know of. Human or Irathi." "Great," Aaron muttered. "A mystery with an engine." They followed the trail, which led them to the shattered remains of the relay station. The scene was worse up close. Hull plating floated in twisted chunks, solar arrays spun slowly in the void, and the central comm dish was split clean in half. Aaron swallowed. Whoever did this didn't just attack, they erased it. Lyra closed her eyes, as if listening to something beyond hearing. "There is no life here, but there is an echo, fear. It is faint, but strong enough to linger." Aaron glanced at her. "You can sense that?" She opened her eyes, meeting his gaze. "It is not magic. Strong emotions can leave traces in the minds of those who feel them, and sometimes in the space itself, if they are powerful enough." The unseen threat. Before they could investigate further, the Arrowhead sensors lit up with a warning. Contact. "Coming in fast," Aaron called, swinging the ship into a defensive turn. Out of the darkness, a massive shape emerged. Not like any ship Aaron had ever seen. Its hull was black and uneven, almost like it was grown instead of built. And it moved with an eerie, silent precision. Lyra's voice was calm but firm. "That is not one of mine. And it is not human." The alien ship scanned them with a bright pulse of energy. Aaron's controls flickered under the interference. "They're jamming us," Aaron said. "Weapons are offline." "Then we must make them see we are not a threat," Lyra said. Yeah, problem is they don't look like they want to talk. The alien ship moved closer, and for a moment, Aaron thought it was about to fire. But instead, it released a sharp burst of static and then jumped to faster-than-light speed, vanishing into the void. Aaron let out a slow breath. They could have destroyed us. Why didn't they? Lyra's eyes narrowed. Because they wanted us to see them. This was not an attack. This was a warning. The council's decision back at the station, their report was met with a mix of disbelief and concern. The human and Irathi council members gathered in the conference hall, the tension thick enough to feel in the air. An unidentified vessel in neutral space, capable of destroying a relay station in minutes, and you're telling me they spared you? One counselor said, his tone skeptical. They did, Lyra said firmly. And that means they have a purpose beyond simple destruction. They wanted to be seen, Aaron added. If we treat this like a random attack, we could be walking into something bigger without realizing it. The council debated for hours, but in the end they agreed. A joint task force would be formed to investigate further, with Aaron and Lyra as part of it. A quiet moment. Before the storm that night, Aaron found Lyra at the observation deck, standing, before the vast curve of the earth. "You're not sleeping either?" he asked. She shook her head. "Sleep is elusive tonight." He stepped beside her. "You think we'll see that ship again?" "Yes," she said simply. "And when we do, we must be ready to listen as well as speak." Aaron looked at her, and for a moment, the weight of the mission felt distant. "You know, before this, I thought diplomacy was all about long meetings and fancy speeches. Now I'm realizing it's also about not getting blown up." Her lips curved into a small smile. In both, timing is everything. They stood in silence for a while, and Aaron found himself speaking without thinking. "You ever think about what happens after this is over?" She turned to him. "I do. But the future is made in moments like this one, and right now, I choose to be here." Aaron felt something tighten in his chest. Not fear, but something close. He nodded. "Yeah, me too." The return to the stars. The joint task force launched 3 days later. Human and Irathi ships traveled together, scanning the deep sectors for signs of the mysterious vessel. When the contact finally came, it was in the far reaches beyond mapped space. The black, grown-looking ship appeared again, holding its position as the task force approached. "Still not attacking," Aaron noted. "Still watching," Lyra replied. This time, Lyra stepped forward. "Open a broadband signal, all frequencies." Aaron did as she asked. "Channels open." Lyra closed her eyes, and Aaron felt her presence push outward. Not just into his thoughts, but beyond, into the unknown. Moments later, a response came. Not in words, but in a deep, resonant pulse that filled the ship like a heartbeat. Aaron's eyes widened. "What is that?" "They are speaking," Lyra said. "Not with language, but with thought and feeling. They want to know if we are hunters or gardeners." Aaron blinked. "What does that even mean?" "They want to know if we take without giving back, or if we nurture what we touch." A choice the task force's leaders debated what message to send. Some wanted to show strength, others caution. Aaron looked at Lyra. "What do you think?" "I think they have seen enough war," she said softly. "They want to know if there is another way." Aaron turned back to the comms. "Then let's tell them we're gardeners." The signal went out, not just in words, but with images of green worlds, of repaired ships, of hands helping instead of harming. The alien ship pulsed again, and this time, the feeling in the air was different. "Lighter, they accept," Lyra said quietly. "For now, a bond beyond barriers." The alien ship turned and disappeared into the void once more, but this time without the shadow of threat. Back on the station, the mission was called a success, not because of victory in battle, but because a bridge had been built. On the observation deck, Aaron and Lyra stood side by side again. "You think we'll see them again?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "And when we do, we will be ready." Aaron smiled faintly. "You know, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm starting to like this whole shared thoughts thing." Her silver eyes held his for a long moment. "It is not just thoughts we share now," her voice whispered in his mind, and Aaron realized that whatever came next, danger, peace, or something in between, they would face it together. The stars stretched out before them, endless and waiting.